Hey guys, and happy Thanksgiving. I'm Hannah Cox with Base Politics, and like me, you may have recently seen the president pardon some turkeys.
I hereby pardon chocolate and chip. Which one's chocolate? Which chip? Chocolate, you're pardoned, and so are you, Chip.
This is frankly one of the weirdest traditions in American history, but people love it. So if you're like me and you're wondering where this tradition came from, I did the work for you. It actually dates back about 3 decades. People often say Harry Truman was the first president to pardon turkeys, but that doesn't really seem accurate. It actually looks like Kennedy was the first to kind of jokingly offer a turkey a free pass that wouldn't be cooked for Thanksgiving dinner. And then Reagan cemented the tradition by officially pardoning the turkey. George H. Bush kept it going, and now we live with it every year. It's kind of funny, kind of lighthearted. I get it, and I hate to be a killjoy, but I've just spent far too much time working around the criminal justice system to actually find this funny. And that's because presidents actually have immense power to hand out pardons and clemency, but they rarely use it. And this is an important check and balance in our justice system that just gets entirely left on the table. Let's run some of the numbers. Donald Trump used his executive clemency power less frequently than nearly every other president since the turn of the 20th century. He granted 237 acts of clemency during his 4 years in the White House, including 143 pardons and 94 commutations. Barack Obama granted clemency 1,927 times over the course of 8 years in office. He actually had the highest total of any president going back to Harry Truman, but his total was skewed very heavily towards commutations instead of pardons. And according to this data, every president from William McKinley to Carter granted clemency to at least 20% of those who asked for it, according to the Justice Department. But the percentages have fallen to single digits for every president since George H.W. Bush, including Obama, who was supposed to be this huge progressive criminal justice reform warrior. Never saw that materialize. And he granted clemency just 5% of the time to people who petitioned him for it. The problem here is that a lot of people deserve pardons. First and foremost, when you're in the federal prison system, there is no parole. And that means you literally have one shot at getting out early, and that is if you somehow find evidence of being wrongfully convicted and are able to have a good attorney and able to get that looked at, and even then that takes years, and then maybe you get out. Or the president can come in and intervene. And so because they very rarely do, that means a lot of people suffer needlessly because the president isn't using their power. That's why they were given pardon power in the first place. That's why governors also have it at the state level. You need the executive to be able to come in as a check and balance on the justice system. We incarcerate more people in the United States than any other country in the world. We have 25% of the world's prison population here. That is crazy. And a lot of these people should not be in prison, should not be in jail in the first place. They're there for things that should never have been criminalized, like the war on drugs, or they're there for nonviolent crimes that the state had no business getting involved in. And then you have a lot of other people who maybe did actually break the law, but were given really aggressive, crazy, lengthy sentences due to mandatory minimums. Alice Johnson, who Trump famously pardoned, is an example of that. She literally transported drugs and got a life sentence and would not have gotten out had he not intervened. Nobody should be serving a life sentence for nonviolent crimes. That is absolutely crazy. And again, others within the prison system have proven themselves over time. There are a lot of people who did things that were wrong, mostly when they were younger, because that's mostly who actually commits crime, is people under age 25. And over time, they have been rehabilitated, they've proven themselves, and they should be given a second chance. Others maybe had corruption in their case, like I mentioned earlier. It's really hard to prove you were wrongfully convicted, even though we know it happens all the time in the system, even though we know that prosecutors and police get qualified immunity or even absolute immunity at times, so they're never held accountable when somebody is wrongfully convicted. And then you have others who have actually been persecuted by the US federal government itself, like Edward Snowden, who was a famous whistleblower who let the American people know that their government was spying on them. He should be pardoned. He did nothing wrong. The government did something wrong. Or Julian Assange, who is currently still being persecuted by the US government for simply being a reporter and telling the country about the war crimes our government was committing. He should also be pardoned. This is ludicrous, and you would hope to see a president come in and correct these kinds of missteps within our justice system. I think this is even more true for Biden, who is one of the architects of mass incarceration with his 1994 crime bill. He led to a lot of these problems. He led to a lot of people being locked up who shouldn't be there. He ran on criminal justice reform. He promised us that we would get this kind of relief. We haven't seen it. I want to see action. Start pardoning people. Stop pardoning turkeys. I'm Hannah Cox with Base Politics. You can read more at base-politics.com. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel, like the video, and leave me a comment letting me know your thoughts.